Did you know that as a homeowner, you can get a tax break for installing energy efficient windows, doors, AC units, and more? It's called the Energy Efficient Home Improvement Credit, and it was established under the Inflation Reduction Act. If you're planning on making updates to your home, you might want to tune into this video. Today, I'm going to share what qualifies as an energy efficient improvement, how you can qualify to take the credit, and how much credit you may be able to take on your federal tax return. I'm sharing this information for educational purposes so that you'll be aware of tax savings that might be available to you. This is not legal or tax advice. Every situation is different, so please discuss your specific situation with your tax advisor to see if you qualify to take the credit. As long as your home is your main home, you might be able to claim the Energy Efficient Home Improvement Credit for certain improvements. If you live in the residence for a majority of the year and it's your primary residence, it is considered to be your main home. Your main home has to be located in the United States and it cannot be newly constructed. Even if you are a tenant renting a home, you might be able to take the credit for improvements. If you do not live in the home or you are a landlord, you cannot claim the credit. If you only use the home for business, you cannot claim the credit. If the business use of your home is no more than 20%, you may take the full credit amount. If the business use of your residence is more than 20%, you can take a credit for the expenses that can be allocated to non-business use. In order to take the credit for exterior doors, windows, skylights, insulation materials or systems, and air sealing materials or systems, the improvement should be rated to last at least 5 years, and you must actually own the home. You cannot take a credit for these items if you are a renter. Now, both owners and renters can take the credit for things such as air conditioner units, heat pumps, and home energy audits. In just a bit, we're going to go into a little more detail about these improvements and how much credit you can take. But for now, please take a look at the screen for other items for which you can take the credit. Here are a few other things you should know. Your home improvements must meet energy efficiency standards, and the systems and materials must be new. You cannot get the credit for any used materials or systems, and you can only take the credit in the year that you install the improvement. You cannot take the credit if you just purchase an improvement without installing it. Let's go over reductions that you have to make when calculating the amount that you have spent on expenses. If you receive a public utility subsidy to buy or install your clean energy improvement, you must subtract the subsidy from your expenses. You even have to subtract a public utility subsidy if the subsidy goes to a contractor on your behalf. If you receive a rebate for any of your improvement expenses, you will have to subtract the rebate from your expenses if 1, the rebate is based on the cost of the improvement, 2, if it comes from someone connected to the sale, such as the manufacturer, distributor, seller, or installer, and 3, if it isn't given as a payment for services you provide. Now, you might receive an energy efficiency incentive from your state, and they may call it a rebate, but most of the time these are not rebates for federal income tax purposes. You normally will not subtract these state incentives from your expenses. You will include these state incentives in your gross income on your federal income tax return instead. So now we'll take a look at time frames and how the credit works. The Energy Efficient Home Improvement Credit is only good for improvements that you make through the end of 2032. And you can claim the maximum annual credit every year that you make improvements. So there is no lifetime dollar limit. The nice thing about tax credits is that credits are a dollar for dollar reduction in your taxes. The unfortunate thing about the Energy Efficient Home Improvement Credit is that it is non-refundable. This means that you can't get back more on the credit than you owe in taxes, and you cannot apply any leftover credit to future tax years. Non-refundable credits do not affect the federal tax refund that you get as a result of the federal tax withholding from your paycheck, or refundable credits you might get for things such as the Earned Income Tax Credit. You will still receive your regular refund for these things. Basically, you just can't increase your federal tax refund by a non-refundable credit. At the end of the day, if you meet all of the criteria, you may be able to take a non-refundable credit up to $3,200 for your home improvements that meet energy efficiency standards, but there are limits on the amount of credit allowed for specific expenses. So next, we will dive into the specific dollar limits for each category. The first category is building components. This would include doors, windows, and insulation and air sealing materials or systems. You cannot include labor costs for installing building components in your tax credit. You can take a maximum of $250 for each door that you install, with a total of $500 for doors each year. Doors must meet Energy Star requirements. You can take a maximum of $600 per year for windows, and they must meet Energy Star Most Efficient certification requirements. The maximum limit for insulation and air sealing materials or systems is $1,200, and these improvements must meet the IECC standards in effect at the start of the year 2 years before installation. For example, if you install materials or systems in 2023, they must meet the IECC standards in effect on January 1st, 2021. Next, we have residential energy improvements. You can include labor costs for installing your residential energy improvements. You can take a credit up to $600 per item for improvements that meet the CEE highest efficiency tier, not including any advanced tier, in effect at the beginning of the year when the improvement is installed. You can also get up to $600 per item for electrical components needed to support residential energy improvements that you install. This can include items such as panel boards, sub-panel boards, branch circuits, and feeders. These supporting components must meet the National Electric Code and have a capacity of 200 amps or more. Please take a look at your screen for the list of allowed residential energy improvements. The third category is heat pumps and biomass stoves and boilers. You can get a credit for electric or natural gas heat pumps, electric or natural gas heat pump water heaters, and biomass stoves and boilers. You can also include the labor for installation in your cost. The improvement has to have a thermal efficiency rating of at least 75%. The maximum credit that you can take each year is $2,000. Lastly, if you have a home energy audit conducted by a home energy auditor, you can get a credit of $150. The home energy auditor has to inspect your home and prepare a written report that identifies the most significant and cost-effective energy efficiency improvements that could benefit your home. The report must include an estimate of how much you would save in energy and how much cost savings you would have if you were to install the recommended improvements. The IRS discovered that taxpayers were falsifying home energy audit reports, so starting in 2024, the IRS will require some additional information. Going forward, home auditors will have to follow best industry practices and will have to be certified by one of the qualified certification programs listed by the Department of Energy, or the auditor will have to be under the supervision of a qualified home energy auditor. The auditor's name and employer identification number, or tax ID number, will have to be included on the written report. The home energy auditor will also have to include the name of the certification program that they attended, and they will have to sign their report. So in order to take the Energy Efficient Home Improvement Credit, you will file Form 5695, Residential Energy Credits Part 2, with your tax return. If you have installed things like solar water heaters, solar electric panels, or battery storage technology, you will use a different credit for these items. Please take a look at the video on the lower right of your screen if you would like to learn more about taking a separate credit for these improvements. See you next time.